Welcome to That Voice Podcast. I'm your host, Sally Prosser. If you want to speak with style, sass, and soul so you can love your voice and land your message, you're in the right place. Let's hit it. Hello, welcome back to That Voice Podcast. Dun, dun, dun. Is AI the storytelling enemy? Has it come to strip us of creativity and rip out authenticity? And are you telling stories as a leader in the first place? Gabrielle Dolan is with me today. She's a storytelling expert, the author of 8 books, including Story Intelligence, The Craft of Authentic Storytelling Made Smarter with AI. That tagline kind of gives away where we're going with this conversation. Gabrielle shares why storytelling is an essential leadership skill, how to use AI, not let it use us. And there's a nice little anecdote about when PowerPoint first came in, promising to revolutionize our presentations. Anyone old enough to remember that? I got overly excited by those animations and transitions early in my career. And speaking of career, as a former TV and radio news journalist, the job was storytelling. And it's a great little hack I still use in business today, where I imagine I'm reporting on my life. What would be the headline of the day? What would be the lead story? What fun story would I tease for the end of the bulletin? So there's a little idea to open up your storytelling creativity as we dive into this conversation with Gabrielle Dolan. Gabrielle Dolan, welcome to That Voice Podcast. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Sally. I'm excited to be here with you.
So give us a bit of a background. When did you discover the power of storytelling?
Yeah, so I used to work at National Australia Bank, right? So corporate Australia, and it was over 20 years ago. I'm going to say it's about 23 years ago. I was a senior leader at NAB, but my last couple of years were in change management. So, rolling out organizational change across, whether it was digital transformation or cultural change or rolling out values. And what I started to notice is that when I shared a story to do that, it seemed to get the message across better. It wasn't this magical silver bullet, but people seemed to get the message better. What I really noticed is the really great leaders, like you'd see these senior executives who were like, you think they're so good, I want to work for them. And what were they doing? They were sharing stories. And you'd see brilliant presenters on stage, and what were they doing? They were sharing stories. So 21 years ago, there was a bit of a redundancy package on the table at NAB. I decided to leave. And I truly believe that storytelling is a leadership skill. I had experience in the past in previous jobs around designing and delivering leadership programs. So I knew I could design and deliver a leadership program. And I just decided I think people need to learn how to tell stories better, that storytelling is an absolute skill. And just like any other leadership skill, it can be taught and learnt. So I left NAB 21 years ago and decided that I'd be the person to teach people storytelling. So it was a bit of a slow start, as you could imagine. No one was talking about storytelling, but our children were 2 and 5 at the time, and I seriously thought I'll just give it a go for a couple of years. If it doesn't work out, at least I'm home with the kids and I can just go back to corporate and get another job. That was sort of my thinking.
I'll ask you something that people ask me all the time in workshops when it comes to storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to waste time with a fluffy story. I just want to get to the point.
Yeah, I get that a lot. It was like, I don't have time to tell a story. First of all, a really good story will probably go for about 60 seconds. And if your story is going for longer than 2 minutes, it's too long and you're not disciplined to get it that short. The other thing I say, it is the one thing, the single one thing that will get your message across. It is the point. It is the only thing people are going to remember. So if you do it well, that you share this very short story to make your point, it is the most effective thing in your entire presentation or speech. You could get on stage and just tell the story and everything else just go blah, 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 but people will remember the story.
Yeah, I often say rapport opens the door.
With the story, what it does, it gives you credibility on the content you're about to talk about, but it builds a connection. And the science shows us that it actually can fast track a relationship, and it can fast track trust with your audience. Now, whether your audience is your team or the board or stakeholders or an audience on stage, it actually fast tracks that trust and connection between the audience and the speaker and the storyteller.
Yeah. So, Gabrielle, you've written, did you say 8 books?
Yeah, this is my eighth book.
That's incredible. Congratulations. What's the title of the 8th book?
The title of the eighth book is Story Intelligence, the craft of authentic storytelling made smarter with AI. So my previous book on storytelling was, in fact, my previous book was about 4 or 5 years ago, and I truly believed it was the last book I'd write on storytelling. But it was a couple of years ago that I'd be running storytelling workshops, and I'd have participants say to me, yeah, but AI is going to replace storytelling. And it was like, the question horrified me. Like, no, AI won't replace storytelling. And then I would have more and more people say, can you use AI to help with your stories? And initially my reaction was like, no, that's cheating. That's not real. It won't be authentic. But, I think my publisher sort of said, well, if you're the expert on storytelling, maybe you should explore this. And I did start to explore it. And I was distressingly surprised how good it was, AI, as in AI. But there was something missing, and there's always something missing with AI around authenticity. So the premise of the book, it is absolutely still a storytelling book, and I truly believe that in a world of distrust and in a world of AI generated content, that our stories, our authentic stories, are needed now more than ever. I truly, truly believe that. But AI is not the enemy, and done wisely, you can use AI to help you find and refine your story.
How can we? What's a tip for somebody listening who wants to improve their storytelling or wants to get started with storytelling? What are the AI tools you recommend? Is it putting stuff in ChatGPT?
I'm almost saying use AI as your storytelling coach. So, sort of making myself redundant, if you want. Say, Sally, you were giving, a talk to your team or the board or whatever, and you wanted to talk about the importance of innovation. Let's just pick something, right? Innovation. First of all, I'd take you through the process of making sure, well, what does innovation mean to you? So you're really clear on that. But once you're clear on that, and you wanted to share a story, if you said to me, hey, I want to share a story, but I've just got no stories, I can't think of a story, the first thing I would do is ask you a whole heap of questions. I would ask you things like, can you think of a time when you tried something different and it worked? Or can you think of a time when you didn't have the courage to try something different? Or has there been, moments in your life where you've just done something different, just some small little thing that's, really improved the process or whatever? And I would ask you all these questions, and you would absolutely think of an example. So use AI for that. So a simple prompt. The very important next step is AI will come back and say, give me some, bullet points, and I will create a story. That's when you've got to be really careful to not let AI take control. So look at that story. AI might come with, I was really excited about this. But you might go, I wasn't excited at all. I was terrified. Okay, so you're going to change that. But you've got to make sure that you maintain your voice the whole time when you're using AI to refine anything you do.
That's the big question. How do you reconcile authenticity with AI? How can people get disciplined about using the AI as a tool for storytelling and not allowing it to take their voice?
Yeah. Have you ever read Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic?
I sure
It's
have.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, in that, I love that book. And she writes a letter to fear because it's all about creativity and fear. So,
Yes, it can be in the car, but don't let it take the wheel.
exactly, exactly. So I was inspired by that. So I wrote a letter to AI. It says, Dearest AI, creativity and I are about to go on a road trip together, and I invite you to join us. I will be doing my job on this road trip, which is to work hard and stay focused. And creativity will be doing its job, which is to remain stimulating and inspiring. There's plenty of room in this vehicle for all of us. So make yourself at home, but understand this. Creativity and I are the only one who will be making any decisions along the way. I recognise and respect the supporting and valuable role you can play, so I will at times ask you for advice and suggestions. But understand that I will always make the final decision and I will always be in control. Don't take this personally, as I know you won't because you're not a person. But I know sometimes while you are eager, you hallucinate. So sometimes you are wrong. You also come with some built in biases, so we are not always aligned. So you're allowed to have a seat and you're allowed to have a voice when asked. But my dear friend AI, you are absolutely forbidden to drive. I will always be in control. I think if people approach AI with that and make their sort of own commitment around using AI, then they will keep their voice. And a really practical thing is if AI, if you've used AI to generate anything, speak it out loud. And if it doesn't sound like you, don't use it, because if you don't do that, you are running the very real risk of just blending into all the AI generated content. As a leader, this is critical, because the moment people think it's AI generated, they either stop reading, stop listening, and you start to lose trust.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. So somebody reads an email, say, and they
Mhm.
go, I can spot that that's been AI generated.
Yeah.
Why do I trust that person less? Because I too might be using tools as well. Am I judging them because I think, oh, they're a bit lazy because they're using AI? Or is it some kind of uncanny valley sort of thing where we have this craving to be interacting with other humans without the machines getting involved?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I also think too, so some leaders would be going, oh no, I don't use AI to generate it. I just use it to help refine. It's sort of the same thing. It's the same thing. We are in a world of distrust. So I don't know if you follow the Edelman report. They produce a global report every year. For the last 20 years, they've been doing it. And we are at the lowest level of trust. And for the first time, a low level of trust from employers to employers, right? So there's already this low level of trust. And we're quite cynical because of that. And so if your employee is reading a letter or reading an email and it's just like going, this sounds a bit AI-ish, I think it does affect the credibility. It's almost like, what, could you not write it yourself? Like, I don't know what it is,
So
but
is it kind of like, I don't matter? You don't value
yeah,
me enough to actually have a
yeah.
conversation, to pick up the phone?
Exactly. I think it's a bit of that. I think it's like, oh my God, it's just I'm sick of reading AI stuff. Like, can't you just use your own words? I think again, as leaders, we're going, oh, but it's quite efficient and it sounds good, but it doesn't sound like you. And you're the voice expert. It was sort of like, it doesn't sound like you. It's
No, and
not you.
that's the catch. It sounds better than me. I caught myself the other day. So I've been doing a little bit of getting AI to help refine when it's been
Yeah.
a bit of a tricky email or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
The other day I wrote an email and I had this thought, should I run this through AI just to check? And I had to stop myself from doing that. I've made this rule now that I don't want to run any emails through ChatGPT unless it's a specifically challenging
Yeah.
scenario, because yeah, I think a lot of people are using it as a refining of their own words, yet people are receiving it as not a lot of effort's gone into it. Even
Yes.
when in some cases more effort goes into it when you're writing it and refining it and then
Yeah,
writing it
yeah.
and
And then you got to
refining
and you're right, and then you got to reread it, because I do. Even though I've written 8 books, I'm terrible at spelling and grammar. It's like that's what I have editors for. And so sometimes I run it through AI as just a bit of a like spell grammar check, but I have to
it.
be really specific to say just spell check this, because it just changes things. And I was like, I didn't ask you to change things. I had to like write a couple of paragraphs about what do you do. So I just wrote it, go, I teach people how to communicate more effectively through stories, and I like did other stuff. Just put it through ChatGPT, bit of a check. It came back and said, I teach people to communicate more effectively through stories that bridges the gap between impact and trust. And it was like, what the hell? Like, I don't even know what that means. But the danger is some people go, oh, that sounds really cool. It sounds like AI. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's challenging because I've enjoyed poetry my whole life and I like wordplay and I like using the juxtaposition, more verbose language.
Yeah.
Now, verbose language that I would like to use, I'm like, oh, that just smacks of AI. So I've got to just bring out the Wollongong bogan in me and just be like, what would they say?
What would they say down there?
What would they say down
Um,
the surf club?
I don't know if you're old enough to remember when PowerPoint first entered the workforce, and it was like, so that was 36
Mm.
years ago. You probably weren't. I was. And, it replaced the overhead projector, and PowerPoint came along, and this new technology. We were so excited because we thought this is going to make all our presentations amazing now. It's going to be so much better. Our presentations are now going to be amazing. And of course, what it resulted in is death by PowerPoint. And I sort of think if we give too much control to the technology with AI, we'll go down a similar path with what we've done with PowerPoint, where people go, oh my God, another PowerPoint presentation. They're doing the same with AI already.
Yeah, well, which is why in the area I work in and you do as well, standing in front of someone, using the technology of the organic human voice, telling a story about something that happened to you. I mean, this is why this is the fast track to trust, because
Yep.
people can see and feel it's this experience knowing that it comes from you. And that's what
Yeah.
real authenticity and connection is all
Absolutely.
about.
When I run my storytelling workshops, like clearly I teach people how to tell stories more effectively. And then at the end, I get them to share their story in tables, right? So they're at a table, 6 or 8 people. These are senior leaders that may have worked with each other before, may not. I ask them straight afterwards, I go, tell me one thing you liked about that. And without doubt, the first thing they say is, I feel like I know everyone better, and I
Mm.
feel like I've got a stronger relationship with the people at this table because everyone has shared a personal story. I come from storytelling from a really practical perspective, as in this will help you communicate more effectively. But when you share a personal story, as in a non-work related story, not like a, deepest, darkest fears type story, it actually strengthens the relationship. It builds trust and strengthens the relationship. And as leaders, as business owners, as people trying to communicate or influence, that's the added benefit of a story. But clearly, it's got to be authentic.
What a great way to bring this to an end. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I would just say, storytelling's a skill. It's an absolute skill. We all do it as humans, so we naturally all do it. But doing it effectively in business is an absolute skill. So I would say, learn how to do it like you would with any other skill, and then give it a go, because an okay story is better than no story.
Love that. And how can people learn more about you, to connect with you, come to one of your workshops?
If you want to get better at storytelling, my last 20 years is in the book. So, it's Story Intelligence, the craft of authentic storytelling made smarter with AI. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you're on LinkedIn, follow me. And if you like podcasts, which you do because you're listening to this podcast, then I also run my own podcast called Keeping It Real with Jack and Ral. And I'm Ral. We release an episode every Monday about career stuff, business advice, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, and you share a lot of stories about your life and yourselves, which is what makes it very engaging, proving your
Yeah,
point.
yeah, proving my point. It was yeah, it's like if you listen to any podcasters or influencers, what they're actually doing as well is sharing stories because they're building a connection with their audience.
Amazing. Gabrielle and I were just speaking before this recording about how at one point our books, so my book Voice Print and Gabrielle's book Story Intelligence, were up there in the hot new releases together on the Amazon list. So while you're there, make sure you get Voice Print as well as Story Intelligence.
Absolutely. I reckon that'd be a great combo. That'd be a great combo, story intelligence and voice print, because it is about, owning your voice.
Yeah, it's the what to say and then the how to say it.
Perfect. Perfect.
Thank you so much for joining us on That Voice podcast.
Thanks, Sally.
Thanks for listening. If it resonated, please share on your socials and tag us at That Voice Podcast on Instagram. And for episode details, hot off the drop, straight to your inbox, leave your email at thatvoicepodcast.com.